And now I'm very excited to welcome back one of our sharpest guests in Mr. Will Hill from Bear Bets VSiN, as well as the Shoulda Bet More podcast. You can follow Will on Twitter at not the Will Hill. Will, it's been a while since you've been on, my man. How is the spring treating you?
Kiev, what's going on, man? Appreciate you having me. Always good to see you. Always good to be on with you. Appreciate the kind words. And when I talk to you, it means football, basketball, either here or around the corner. Usually we're talking either football or college hoops. So we're not quite there yet. I always see these things popping up. The circuit contest is right. We still got a ways to go, but you know what? NBA Finals is right here. And here's how I look at it. When the NBA Finals ends, you got like 5 weeks until the Hall of Fame game. And then once you get that, you know what? You're down the home stretch and you're pretty far, or you're pretty close here to some football. So relaxing, a lot to do. Money never sleeps, man, especially college football. Studying, who's on what team, trying to keep up with the college basketball part. There's always something to do. Baseball every day, along with obviously NBA and NHL. But good to be on, man. Always exciting.
Yeah, man, it's great to have you. There's always something going on here, and we're on the kind of the end of spring, early summer here in Arizona. It's summer started. I guarantee you that. But thank God the sun gods have left us alone a little bit. It hasn't been too bad. Got us some nice clouds today, but man, we got baseball to talk about, a little NFL early, and I'd like to get right into baseball here. So we're about 2 months into the season. Who's your most surprising team in baseball? Like, it doesn't have to be good or could be bad. Up to you. Who's surprising you the most?
I'll give you a weird answer. Nobody expected the Colorado Rockies to be good. But we could be looking at like realistically a 33 and 129 type of team. I mean, they really might win only 33 games. I mean, they might lose 130 games, which, as a Chicago guy, the White Sox last year broke all sorts of records for futility. Nobody's ever going to be that bad again. Nobody was that bad before them. Well, meet the Colorado Rockies, because first of all, we're recording this. They have nine wins, 9-44, 9-45. Who's keeping track at this point? The books just can't hang numbers low enough. Their season win total for May was 9.5. I think they're at 4. And okay, we all thought they were going to be bad, but we thought they'd be like 50 win bad, 52, 53 wins bad, but not like this. This is insane. I just don't know how you make a number low enough. And FanDuel, DraftKings, they do a good job of posting totals pretty much every day regularly. I saw 39.5. On Monday, on Memorial Day. Went to bet it like 10, 15 minutes later. It was gone, but keep an eye on. I know Teasers had it up. 39.5 is too high. This team's not winning 40 games. This is, we're entering June. They're better players, which they don't have many of, haven't even been picked off yet at the trade deadline. The Kyle Freelands of the world. Chase Dollander is a big-time prospect. He actually was pitching well for them. He's on the IL. I'm sure teams are going to want to scoop up, their relievers or an outfielder here or there. They're actually going to get worse. Their division is so hard where it's not as unbalanced as it used to be, but you still play the Dodgers, the Padres, the Diamondbacks, the Giants a bunch of times. Those teams are all really good. And it's the old saying, when you're the worst team in a division, you always have the hardest schedule because you don't get to play yourself. They're looking at 130 loss season. So I don't think anybody predicted they'd be this bad. I know it's a strange answer, but the Rockies are just the epitome of futility right now.
They are, and man, was their schedule pretty hard coming in May here, and they are. It's not like it's funny. The series against the Cubs, they're not like getting blown out that bad, but it's two runs here, 1 run here. They're just not getting over the hump, which is the big problem. So I agree. I've never seen a team this start this bad that I can remember. And you wonder if they get better. I assume they get a little better, but I'm not sure. I mean, would you take the over 33 games on them right now?
33. Boy, the market was 39.5. So by definition, I'd probably take 33. I was asking, I think, Gil Alexander a couple weeks ago. I was like, what number would you need not bet the under, but what number would you need to actually take out your wallet, go up to the counter and bet the over? And he's like, man, maybe low 30. I mean, it's just hard. You're going to be sitting there sweating out these games where they're a $2, $3, $4 favorite. I mean, I think we were looking at this on one of the shows. The biggest underdog in really modern MLB, recent memory. I think Houston in 2017 was like a $5 or $6 favorite one game in September. You don't see minus 500 in Major League Baseball. You're going to see some minus 500. I wonder if you'll see some minus 600 at some point. It's that ridiculous. And you're going to need to win some of these for the Rockies. So I wouldn't bet under 33.5, but even at 33, I wouldn't bet over. I would probably, in order to actually betting over, I would probably need like a 29.5, maybe a 30.5. I really think this could be like a 32, 33 win team. And if we were talking a month ago, I was like, man, this team stinks. They might be like a 40 win team. Every time you watch them, every time another week or two of data comes in, there's just your expectations have to lower and lower. And if you're a square ball money line parlay player, that's a free spot on the bingo card a lot of nights, man, because they just don't win a lot of baseball games.
Yeah, that's very true. And what's also interesting is the White Sox were bad, and it's like the Rockies are making them look not so bad, just because they're that much worse right now. It's so funny because I almost think that the White Sox, statistically could be worse. It's just that they're playing a lot easier teams in general. I knew the Tigers were going to be good, but I didn't know they'd be this good, Will. The Tigers are, I don't think they're as good as their record. Don't get me wrong. Like, gun to the head, I still don't think they finished first in the AL. But, man, they're doing great. And the Cubs scoring runs. I knew that their batting would be a little better, but it's just crazy how many runs they're scoring. And they also allow a decent amount of runs. Cubs overs have been what I've been living off of the past 2 months, Will. The Pacers on the NBA and the Cubs overs. Sometimes
exactly.
you just got to lock in on something, but the Cubs are like the best overs team right now in Major League Baseball. So that was pretty surprising. But what are your thoughts on Juan Soto? It's interesting to see him kind of slump a little bit here. Does that make you feel any differently as a Yankees fan?
It's a great question. A little bit. I think ultimately he'll be fine. He's one of the worst guys. He's one of the last guys I worry about just because his game is so solid. It's walks, it's a keen eye, it's line drives. Now he's not Judge. He's not one of the, is he a top 5 player in the game? He's close. He's a really good player. I will say this though. I won't say the guy's name, but I was hosting a show with VSiN this winter. Maybe I heard this secondhand. There was somebody who's a very prominent baseball media member who said, this is off the record, but, and this is when Soto was a free agent. He said, this is off the record, but whoever signs Soto is going to regret it. As soon as he signs, the work ethic is going to dip. He's going to be satisfied, and that contract is not going to age well. We're not there yet. Look, if you win 1 or 2 championships, you live with the back half, but that contract is not going to age well. He's still going to put up some really good seasons, but that comment has stuck in the back of my head, and so far it looks to be true. Again, that's a good team for the Mets. He's going to have moments for them. He's going to come up in big spots and hit line drives and home runs and all that. But maybe, just maybe, now not in the near term. It hurt the Yankees in the near term, even though they're doing fine without him. Just maybe the Yankees did dodge a bullet long term because I can't see that contract aging well.
Yeah, maybe that's very possible. It's way early, but you're right. It's like when some players get paid, sometimes they change. And is it for the long run? I don't know. But many times we see this in baseball where, the sense of urgency isn't quite there, in your head. It's not, you're not fighting for your life. You're not fighting. You got paid. You're comfortable. And sometimes being too comfortable isn't great in sports. But
you're the only one I know. You're the only person I know that could make $800 million and still have a work ethic like you do. You're the only person.
yeah, right. I wish that would be a lot easier if that was true. But I will say that I do expect a bounce back from Juan Soto. But sure. Speaking of, these two juggernauts, who is the best team in the NL? Is it the Mets, you think, or do you think the Dodgers are still kind of reigning up there? Who are your thoughts?
I'll tentatively give it to the Dodgers. I don't love the Mets pitching. They've gotten a lot out of these guys who are not household names. I don't know how sustainable that is. And again, these teams are not finished products. These teams are going to add pieces. The Dodgers, it has to concern them how often their pitchers get hurt. I know they overcame it last year, won a World Series, and they're so relentless in terms of adding the talent, and that's a compliment to them. They just don't care about the money. They're just going to keep spending and spending. But it's it's a situation, if you've ever had buddies, speaking of money, where they're making money, but they're spending it just as fast. You can sign all these pitchers you want. They're getting hurt just as fast as you sign them. Glasnow's never healthy. Snell's not healthy. Sasaki's hurt. Yamamoto's pitched well for them, but it's got to be concerning. I know we're in a day and age where pitchers get hurt a lot, but the rate at which their pitchers get hurt is so alarming. That's something you have to keep in the back of my mind. But I would still go with them just because they have such an embarrassment of riches on offense. They're going to keep adding. They'll probably trade for another couple pitchers at the deadline. They traded for Flaherty last year. He was good for them. And you don't really only need like 3 come postseason. So maybe they hurt at the right time. Maybe you get a couple of these guys back for October. You piece it together. They won a lot of games. They were down 2-1 in San Diego, about to be eliminated in the best of 5. They had a bullpen game going against Cease on the road. They survived that and they won. So it wasn't like it was easy for them last year, but they're not afraid to piece together, do bullpen games. I would say the Dodgers, but I don't feel great about it. I do think the pitching injuries and that rate is a major red flag and a concern for the Dodgers.
It's true, man. I did win a little bit on the Mets this last series. I feel I have to choose the Mets for now, and I think the Dodgers could put it all together, obviously at the end with all the talent that they have. But right now, I do have to go with the Mets. I think that they are the best team in the NL. I think the Cubs are going to make the postseason, but they're not going to go far because of pitching. I still believe that your pitching is going to win games. And, the Cubs batting is great unless they face a great pitcher. And then any batting team against great pitchers in trouble, really. So that's what I feel about the Cubs. The best team in the American League. Will, I know you're a fan of the Yankees, but will you go there?
I'm a very critical for anyone that listens to my podcast. I am a fan of the Yankees, but I'm a very critical fan of the Yankees. I will still say the Yankees just because I do like their bullpen a lot. They have the most runs scored in the American League. At least they did a day or two ago, but their offense has not missed a beat. Goldschmidt's given them a lot. I think Goldschmidt's hitting like 370 dating back to the end of last July. He's been incredible. Bellinger gives them a little something. Dominguez, they just have more depth than they used to have. Ben Rice is a solid bat. Judge is just on another level. He's going to have to do it one of these postseasons, or otherwise, he's going to get the label, which he already has, as a choker. He can't do it in the clutch. He's too good. If he's in the postseason for the rest of his career, and I understand he's running low on time in terms of being in his prime, he's too good not to hit in the playoffs. And I actually think if they didn't drop the ball in the 5th inning, literally drop the ball like they did, and he was part of the problem, he was a culprit. He was starting to get hot. He had a home run, a double in that game. He was starting to swing a good bat. His bats look much better, but they're good on offense. They have enough at the top, I think, with Fried and Rodon. Will Warren's actually come on here. And that back of the bullpen, if they can get Devin Williams on track to go with Weaver, Cruz throws really well for them. Loizaga is back. They can shorten these games. And I like Judge, the bullpen, Fried and Rodon, and I just don't like the rest of the American League. I agree. The Tigers are good. Scooble's pretty much an automatic win. And what he did, what was it, Sunday, 13 Ks, no walks, a shutout to it. I mean, you can't throw a better game than that, and did it all on like 93 pitches, I want to say. But the rest of the team is okay. I never buy in these AL Central teams. They always disappoint in the playoffs. The Twins and the Tigers and the Royals. It's a little fugazi, I do believe. The AL West, all right, Mariners are good. Do they terrify you? No. The Orioles aren't a factor. The Red Sox were a trendy team. They haven't fired. So I think almost by default, the Yankees, you can get them at 3-1 to win the American League. So it's chalk, but it's not like, it's not like they're odds on or you're laying a price or something. You're still getting 3-1 if you think they come out of the American League. I think that's a good bet because I do think they'll have the bye. They'll be in the divisional round, and then they'll be favored versus whoever they're playing. I think the Yankees are in good shape here to make a run. I don't think they're an elite team. I just think the leagues are not balanced here. The National League is a lot better than the American League.
Yeah, yes, it is probably better. I agree. And we'll see who all comes out of it. I do agree that the Yankees are better than the Tigers. I think the Tigers' record is going to adjust a little bit. And it's interesting with the Cubs. Can they hold on without pitching? I do wonder that. Imanaga is going to come back. I wonder if they make a move too. To get a pitcher. I don't know.
Sure.
Everybody wants so much. Like Alcantara is pretty expensive for really what he's been doing, right?
Oh, he's been awful. He's been absolutely terrible.
He's been terrible, and you wonder if that was just because he's playing on that losing team, or maybe it's just. I don't know, just that bad. Maybe it's regression, but here's the thing. The Marlins still want a ton for him. It's like, what are you going to do? You can't take that risk with how bad he's been playing. So we'll see what moves can be made when the time comes. Let's look at a little NFL then, my man.
Let's do it.
It's a little early, but we can always do this at a high level. We'll start with the NFC North, as both you and I have teams that we live and die for a little bit. I mean, we both are the same, similar. I tend to bag on my Bears and you bag on your Vikings, but Does anything change in the NFC North this year? And if you want, I can go over the win total numbers.
I have an idea where the win total's up. I just want to make sure I'm current here with the division odds. I will say as I look these up, the Bears are really good. The Bears, I think, improve. I think they killed the offseason. Offensive line help, a tight end. Now Kmet can be more of a blocker. They didn't get much from their tight ends last year in the passing game. I think Johnson's a home run coach where he's going to get the most out of the young quarterback. If we're ever going to see it from Caleb Williams, it's going to be this year because he's surrounded by talent. Remember last year, it was a lot of icing on the cupcake. It wasn't a lot of meat and potatoes. It was a lot of the candy. It was like, a Dunze, and it was Keenan Allen, but they didn't have the beef. They didn't have the meat and potatoes, offensive line and things like that. I think with Tooney and some of these other guys up front here, they're going to be improved, be able to run the ball. Again, tight end, they've got the receivers. It's going to come down to Caleb Williams. If he's the number one pick, type player, if he's the player they expect coming out, and that pick is already looking bad with what Jaden Daniels is doing, let's be honest, but these things can change. Remember, CJ Stroud, Bryce Young was one of the worst decisions of all time. And now, all right, I'd rather have Stroud, but it's a little closer than you might think. We'll see. But I'm high on the Bears. I thought Minnesota improved, but they are such a regression candidate when you look at turnovers and penalties and, Aaron Schatz, football outsiders. He's at FTN now. He always talks about 3rd and 1, 4th and 1. When you get stops consistently, that leads to regression, injuries. They just had everything bounce their way, close games. So I think they're improved, but their improvement is probably going to be offset by the fact that there was some natural regression coming anyway. And they have a quarterback who we have no idea. It's a big question mark. And then if he ever gets hurt again, I mean, what's behind him? So it'd be under or nothing right now on Minnesota. It'd be over nothing on Chicago. Keep in mind, these NFC teams have one fewer home game. It's the AFC gets the 9 home games. The NFC only gets the 8 home games. In the Minnesota schedule, they play those 2 international games, and then they come home. They have a gauntlet. I heard Warren Sharp talking about this. They come home after the 2 international games, and where I think it's Steelers and Browns. It's a gauntlet after that, where it's Eagles, Chargers on a Thursday night on the road on a short week, and then Ravens and maybe Detroit, another tough game. So tough schedule. Natural regression coming. I'm afraid it's not looking good for Minnesota. I do like your Bears, and I think, boy, whoever comes in last place, that's going to be the best last place team because the Packers, Lions, Vikings, Bears, those are really, really 4 solid teams.
They absolutely, it is the strongest division. I what you say about my Bears is music to my ears. I wonder if you're playing up to me a little bit there, Will.
I believe it. Do you agree or no?
I agree that they had an excellent coaching hire. Absolutely. Yeah. And I think, and it does make you question the Lions. I'm not going to go down to the fact that the Lions are not going to win the division yet. I still think, they have all that experience there. You still got Campbell there, and they're bringing a guy back that was in the organization for a while and promoting a guy within for defense. They had such bad injury luck and still won 15 games, whatever it was, 14 or 15 with the Lions. Right. So it was just incredible to see that they almost could have won more if they didn't lose so many guys, but they just kept getting through. And I still think Minnesota should be second with JJ McCarthy, but the Bears are creeping. I'm a little bit lower on the Packers. I think they're just getting by through pure coaching, and I don't believe Jordan Love's a real quarterback there. I think that I think there wasn't receiver that they needed so much in the draft. So no disagreement there. What about the NFC South? The supposed worst division in football. Who takes a step up there?
Do you buy the Carolina improvement? Because I do. I think I want to make sure I'm current here with these odds. I think Carolina had a good offseason. 4-1 to win the division. I'm seeing it DraftKings. I haven't shopped that. I probably want a little bit more. But just in general, that's a division where, look, it's always kind of the weak sister. We talk about the AL Central being a weak division. The South in the NFC, into the AFC for a while to some extent too. NFC South is one where you can make a run without a lot of talent. Young was very, I don't want to say very good. There were some very positive, encouraging signs down the stretch, throwing the ball down the field, throwing the ball into tight windows. He's got McMillan now as a possible number 1, DeAndre Hopkins type of guy where he can just throw it up, chuck it, and make plays. He didn't have the best supporting cast last year. And they didn't have any sexy splashes in terms of their defensive players, but they just got pros. They got They get 270 hitters to put it in a baseball term. They got guys that can come in on defense and just be professionals, stop the run. They were dreadful against the run last year. I think the coach is pretty sharp. So if I had to bet anything here with, Bucks at even money, Falcons plus 240, Carolina 4-1. I think Saints at 10-1 is pretty much dead money. I would go with Carolina at 4-1. I think that's the best value.
Well, there you go. Wow. Believing in the quarterback. And I do believe that Bryce Young could improve myself when I did the preview. I took the Saints under 6.5 wins, and now it's up to minus 180, but I don't see a quarterback there. I think it's a honeymoon year for Kellen Moore. And I do believe Tampa's still strong. And I do believe Atlanta with that quarterback in Michael Penix, could take a step up. I just don't like Atlanta's coach at all. I don't think Raheem Morris is a real football coach.
Oh, terrible. That was terrible. He was awful last year. He killed them in some of those games.
He did.
Was it the Sunday night game against Washington right around maybe a little might have been between New Year's and Christmas where he just botched the clock? He did a lot of bad things. He screwed up, I think, a Chiefs game. He was just horrible. He needs an assistant. I mean, he needs a clock management assistant. He's incompetent. And I don't take that like, I mean, he's truly incompetent when it comes to managing the clock. He's awful and he cost them games last year. I totally agree.
Yeah, 100%. He did. And and I think he's going to do it again this year, unfortunately. And so I can never bet a bad coach to win a division myself. What about the NFC East? Is this still the Eagles to lose? Do you see any regression with the Super Bowl champ?
Probably, lose. I mean, we saw this last time they won the division or went to the Super Bowl. You lose your coordinator, you lose some guys on defense, your schedule gets harder. It's hard to sustain the success in the NFL unless you have the Mahomes or the Brady. So I could see them with slight regression. Minus 135 is not the worst price. I mean, I'm high on Dallas. I think that people forget Dak. Some people talk on these talking head shows. They act like Dak Prescott is, lucky to be in the league, shouldn't be a starter. Dak Prescott finished second in MVP a year and a half ago. Dak's a good quarterback. They won 12 games 3 years in a row. All right, last year was bad. The defense was bad. They had injuries. Their quarterback got hurt. I think that Dallas could bounce back. Do I have the guts to pull the trigger on them at like 6-1 to win the division? I don't quite. I don't mind it. I actually made the case for them like 60-1 to win the NFC just because, 60-1 to win the Super Bowl, 30-1 NFC, just because I could see a scenario where they get in the playoffs, they win a game, and then you can hedge that ticket. Do they do it as a division champ? Probably not. This is probably still Philly. Washington, decent offseason. I don't know if I buy Jaden Daniels again, but I think Philly has enough of a gap between them and Dallas where I would still pick them to win. Plus, I mean, you mentioned coaches. We don't know about Schottenheimer, and who knows? Sometimes we all kill these coaching hires, and they turn out to be good. I remember, Sirianni, this is a terrible hire. He's stuttering through the press conference. He's going to be an awful coach. He turned out to be a pretty good coach. Yeah, I'd still pick Philly to win the division.
I also pick Philly, and I think Washington's a little bit fugazi. As I saw a tweet from Warren Sharp, and man, I could not believe how easy Washington had it over the past weeks of their schedule. The quarterbacks that they faced, they faced literally the worst quarterbacks in the league. They should have not beat the Bears, and that was actually at home. What else was it? I think it was Cooper Rush, Will Levis, bye week, Jake Hayner / Spencer Rattler, backup Kenny Pickett, and rookie Michael Penix Jr. And then finally backup Trey Lance. I mean, that was just an amazing stretch. So I think that if anyone's going to have a sophomore slump, it certainly could be Washington. Also, who's 80% fourth down conversions? When you have 23 of them, you can for 20. I think that was too much. And I want to apologize to Sam Burgess. He asked a question about Detroit losing both coordinators. Dan Campbell's electric, but not a strong X and O's. Does it affect them, Will? They get their guy from back from Denver, and he's replacing Ben Johnson, and his name escaped me here. And I wonder if John Morton, that's his name, is going to turn it around. I would say he still stays strong because he learned a little bit from Ben Johnson in the past, and he was pretty good with Denver from a passing game wise last year.
I think they take a hit. Quantifying that hit can be difficult, but it's hard to watch Ben Johnson, how creative his offense was, and say, losing him won't matter. Losing your defensive coordinator. I mean, we saw it again with Philly a couple years ago. They lost coordinators. The continuity matters. The X's and O's, all that stuff, it matters. I mean, there's still a lot of talent in there. So I think, and their schedule's pretty favorable if you believe in the rest advantage scenario. So it hurts, but does it hurt enough to not make them a contender? I don't think it hurts them that much.
Back to the NFC East, I took the Giants under 5.5.
Love it.
And dude, I mean, they got to play San Francisco, and San Francisco should be better, obviously. I think that it's just a tough schedule. I mean, when you have your easiest games and your easiest opponents is at New Orleans and at the Bears, it would have been better off if they just could have went to San Francisco and got New Orleans or the Bears at home, right? What a brutal schedule for the Giants. And Russell Wilson is, halfway decent maybe, but he's on his slide out, and he's not going to be good enough to turn over this team. I think that the only thing they have going for them is the defensive line. I took the under, Will.
Under is a great bet. I'm on the under too, and I'll throw a little bonus bet. Plus 600 to have the worst record at DraftKings. That schedule is a nightmare. That should not be plus 600.
No, that should not be plus 600. It's between them and the Saints, in my opinion, have the worst schedule. Let's talk about the NFC West then. You got the Niners at plus 150, Rams plus 195, Seahawks plus 475, and Cardinals 475.
I'll skip the 49ers just because I think it's pretty well documented. They're in a better situation in terms of the rest. Last year was a disaster. This year should be better. They're going to be healthier. I get that. And you're still paying a pretty decent price expecting anybody to win 11 games. Or your quarterback gets hurt, that bet gets sabotaged. So I prefer over than under, but I'll talk about a different team. Arizona, your neck of the woods. Gannon, I think they had a nice draft. If they can keep those corners healthy, that's an area of need. They bring in Sweat, the defensive lineman from Philly. This is going to be a Gannon defense. Remember, he built that defense in Philly. I think this is going to be, a Philly replica. I think he finally got his guys in there. Is their offensive line good enough? We'll see. Can Murray stay healthy? We'll see. But at 5-1 to win a division, I think middle of the year, I thought they had a shot to win the division last year. They fell apart. They had some tough losses, but Gannon coach of the year, Arizona to win the division. I think this team is going to be much improved on defense. Always pretty good on offense, at least decent. So I'm high on Arizona. I think they're a sleeper.
I am actually very high on Arizona. And I think that all these teams should be plus 300 or plus 250, and then maybe the Seahawks plus 450. But, the truth is Kyle Shanahan's awesome. But man, did the Niners lose a ton. And you and I kind of liked Arizona a little bit last year, so why would we not like them this year? I think that the Lions improved. I love some of their moves in the offseason. I think Rich Gannon is a very good coach. Their schedule sets up okay for them as well. I mean, this division plays the AFC South and the NFC South for their non-conference, so it's nice to get wins off that. The question is really the Niners to me. I think the Rams also just sucked in the offseason. I don't know why the Rams are always so bad in the offseason. I guess the whole Jared Verse thing covered up a little bit, but they also didn't have many draft picks and didn't make enough moves either. They lose Cooper Kupp. Not that Kupp was, great, but he was still a leader on that team. So I think that, I'll take the shot with Arizona with you. The Seahawks, I don't see Sam Darnold being great. I think he showed his true colors at the end with the Vikings. I think it was just pure great coaching, the reason he did so well. And taking that step down, losing DK Metcalf and Tyler Lockett, I don't think that the Seahawks improve. I think they're going to be relying on their defense again this year. I think the Seahawks will be an under team. Let's talk about the AFC. How about AFC North? Is it still the Ravens division to lose, Will?
I would think so. Browns are cross off. Steelers can't get to the 11 or 12 wins you'd need. And I know Cincy has got the talent, and it's a team people keep falling for, unless maybe you're a Survivor player and they basically screw everyone Survivor by the time you get to Columbus Day. I still think the Ravens have the coach. They've got the quarterback. We'll see what happens with the kicker here. That's an interesting scenario. I'd imagine Tucker got cut, right? They're going with the kid they drafted, I believe. They're always solid in special teams. Coach, quarterback, special teams, just a solid culture, solid organization. They always seem to beat Cincy in big spots here. I like them better than Cincy. I think it's a two-team race. I don't buy the bottom two, so it's Baltimore or nothing for me.
Yeah. It's Baltimore for me too. Cincinnati, I don't know why they're messing with Hendrickson so much. I understand that they're the only team that can seem to beat Baltimore, but they better shore up that defense for sure. Joe Burrow is going to do his best he can, but this could be a big overs team again with the Bengals, and yeah, I expect Lamar Jackson and the Ravens to put up as many points as needed, and just to continue trucking on here, and it could be their year. I think the Ravens are the second best team in the AFC, and then that moves us to the AFC South. I truly believe that the Bills have it really good this year, man. I'm really looking at their schedule, and
East
I'm
or
not.
South? You said South. Did you mean East?
I AFC East is what I meant. Yes.
Okay, yeah.
Let's move right to the AFC East and talk about
We
the
could,
Bills.
you know what? We could probably go right to the South because the Bills are going to win the division. You can just we can just fast forward right to the South. Barring an Allen injury, how do they not win the division? I know New England's a cute, popular team. Vrabel, Diggs, all these guys. Jets, we'll see. I mean, Jets aren't going to win the division. Miami, I don't buy it. Bills, like people don't want to lay minus 250 for a bet that won't cash until New Year's, and I think that's around the price. You know what? You want to parlay it with something, whatever. Bills are winning this division.
Yeah, I agree. The Bills are winning the division, and I think that they could even go farther. Let's talk about the AFC South then. And this division's been rough. Obviously, the Titans were the worst team in the NFL last year from a records perspective. You got the Jaguars, who are completely incompetent at all times. Does that change this year? You have the Colts that are kind of quarterbackless in a way, and there you have Houston, just sitting there, and they lost a few pieces, gained a few pieces. Who's going to win this division?
Go Texans by default. I don't want any part of the Jags. Titans, we'll see what Ward can do. I'm skeptical his style translates to the pros. I mean, they just scored a ton of points on a bunch of bad defenses, a lot of running around. I mean, that's just not a pro structure he played under. In terms of Ward and being in college. I just think this is Houston by default. Indy, I don't buy the quarterback situation. If you're going Jones, that's a disaster. Richardson, it's not that good and can't stay on the field. This could be another scenario. Let's pencil them in right now. Houston, Saturday, 4:30 Eastern, that early first window that they're always on when they make the playoffs. Probably win their 10 games with Stroud with a good defense. And that was a solid defense last year. Decent enough defense, decent enough quarterback, almost win it by default. I'll go with Houston to be boring. Do you see a sleeper here or no?
I'm not quite to that division yet. I hope.
Yeah.
I think I'm going to be kicking myself and try the Jags again, and then just completely regret it. I love losing on that team, man. I don't. It's what I do. I believe in Trevor Lawrence, and then he just completely shits on me. You
know what? I'm going to use this opportunity. We've been doing these shows together for a long time. I'm going to pat myself on the back. Victory lap. Maybe 2-3 years ago, I came on here and he was before year 2 or year 3. And I said, you know what? If this guy was generational, we might have seen it by now. I'm not buying that this is this great prospect. And you know what? A lot of people like to make excuses when they like a quarterback and they're committed on their take. They make excuses. It's this, it's that. He's just not that good. They paid him all that money. I would have never done that. I've never been a Lawrence believer. I thought there were some games in college. I remember having him against Virginia Tech. Virginia Tech had like a third-string quarterback where I saw red flags. I see the flashes. I get it. He can run. He looks the part. Central casting. There's just something missing with the guy. And I'll go back to a quote he gave when he was in college. He goes, I don't watch the NFL. On Sundays, I hang out with my girlfriend. If you don't love football, I can't get in. I mean, can you imagine Tom Brady saying, I don't watch football. I'm hanging out with my girlfriend. I hated that quote. I'm not a Lawrence guy. You may continue.
Wow, you almost tore your rotator cuff there, patting yourself on the bet, my friend. I hope everything
doesn't take much these days.
I give you a ton of credit. You are absolutely right about Lawrence right now, and it's almost like he's starting to move into like his halfway point in his career. Yeah, something's got to change here, and that's you deserve credit. AFC West, the wild West. Does the Kansas City Chiefs stay above the fighting Sean Paytons and the fighting Jim Harbaughs out there, and even obviously with the Raiders here, Pete Carroll? What do you think about the AFC West?
This is a hell of a division, isn't it? I think I'll start maybe towards the bottom. The Raiders, their floor got really raised with Geno Smith. You can make a case. Are you giving up draft assets for what was he, 35-year-old quarterback? That's not a top 10-ish guy, but he brings in just a solid veteran presence. He's a solid quarterback. He's not great, but he can get you to playoffs. Maybe win a game. Genty's going to help right away. I didn't love the pick from a long-term standpoint, But I think that's a talented team, and they're probably the worst team because Denver, I think, is awesome on defense. Awesome. I think they're going to have the best defense in the league. They add Barron. They've got a good home field advantage. Sean Payton, you know what? I patted myself on the back for Trevor Lawrence. I'll throw my hand up in the air. There was a lot of beating up on Sean Payton. I was in on it too. You know, he won the one Super Bowl. It's because the Vikings fell apart. He's arrogant. He's a good coach. He's a good coach. I think people were too quick to dump on him, probably myself included. Peyton's a solid coach. I think the pendulum swung too far on him being overrated, or actually became underrated, if that makes sense. Knicks is solid. I just think that's a loaded roster, a loaded defense. Chargers with Harbaugh do nothing but win. I liked their draft. You know, add a running back, add some juice at receiver. We'll see if Herbert can win in a big spot. But and then you have the Chiefs with the Chiefs. Do you really want to bet against Mahomes and Andy Reid? I mean, sometimes we oversimplify this, or we overcomplicate this stuff where it's, you know what, they've got the best quarterback, or just about. I still think he's the best quarterback, and they've got a great coach, a Hall of Fame coach, and a Hall of Fame quarterback. Do you really want to go in a different direction? I mean, there's a price for everything. I guess value-wise, I'd be tempted by Denver. I haven't made any bets yet, but this to me is a fascinating, loaded division.
It is a fascinating division, man. The Chiefs really overachieved according to their Pythagorean win total, and I just love Jim Harbaugh so much as a coach that I just think he can go past Peyton. But I don't know. You can make an argument for any of these three teams. I don't think you can get there quite with the Raiders yet, but man, it's this absolutely fascinating division. I would almost be inclined to play two teams against the Raiders and the Chiefs. I almost want to play the Denver Broncos and the Chargers because, you know, they're both at plus money. So if you win one of them, you're up. You know, it's not like going to be a ton of money. And obviously, if the Chiefs win, you lose both bets. But that's why you split your unit in half and try to make a little bit of money each way. So that's the way I attack that. But, you know, it wouldn't shock you if Mahomes is there and all of a sudden looking like Mahomes and looking great. But I just think that the Chiefs got too old. I don't think they've been, you know, obviously getting a lot of return on some of their draft picks lately. Their offensive line was awful last year, and the Eagles really exposed them. So I'm on those two teams, kind of like I mentioned, to win the division. Well,
and remember,
there you go.
One last thing on that. Remember the Patriots, people just remember them as, oh, they won the Super Bowl or win the Super Bowl every year. They went a decade without winning. They had a lull, a dip. Now, we haven't seen that lull, that dip from Kansas City. Even their bad years are, you know, Super Bowl, or the worst year is literally with Mahomes, an AFC title game where they lose in overtime at home. I mean, it's just ridiculous what this guy's done. Is that going to keep up forever? Are they going to have a couple of these years where they're okay? They're 9-8 and they lose in the wild card round, or, you know, they miss the playoffs, which, you know, with the 7 team and Mahomes barring an injury, and he doesn't really get hurt that much. Maybe he will as he gets older. I don't know. Are they due for a 2-3 year run where they're pretty good, but they're not contenders? We'll see.
Yes, exactly. We'll see. Pretty good, not contenders. There's just so much to unpack here, but hey, it's still a little early, and these are just kind of like our high level thoughts. But have you made any bets, maybe long shots, anything like for the MVP or coach of the year, which you've been very good at in the past, or comeback player of the year as well?
Yeah, bad beat for me last year with my Robert Saleh coach of the year. That did not quite get home, but I did it on Dable a few years ago. It's funny when you get to the end of a season and you have futures bets, awards, all this stuff. Some of the stuff and the prices you go through, man, what a great bet that is. I'm a genius. Then you look at some of the other bets and you just feel like such an idiot. It's such the highs and lows of, you know, going through these accounts at the end of the season and the different prices. Like, what was I thinking there? That was a great bet. There's a little of each. Hopefully, you know, for our sake, you're always there's always more good than bad. Look, when you're shopping in the 15, 20, 30 to 1 range, you're not gonna hit them all. You're not even gonna hit 50%. I mean, you'll need to hit a few to be profitable. I don't like these awards. I don't like the MVP market. I think they've really taken the fun away. I mean, you're looking at a guy like Jaden Daniels, who, okay, could he win the award? Sure. He's plus 750.
So low.
I mean, they're second favorite in the division. That's so really, really low. Lamar and Allen are 5-1, plus 550. Burrow's plus 650. Mahomes is 7. So you got 5 guys, all 7-1 or lower. I mean, the hold on these to me is egregious. Could Hurts win at 17-1? Maybe. Herbert at 18-1. I haven't bet it. Dak 30-1. That's hard to get there. Purdy 30. I mean, there's just I remember, and I've talked about this before, so forgive me for repeating myself. Lamar, Mahomes, and then Rodgers. There was a 3-year stretch, 2018, 2019, 2020. I don't know if you remember this. The MVP winner was 70-1, 80-1, and then Rodgers was 30-1. You could hit some monster numbers on these quarterbacks. Now they don't give you prices on anybody. I mean, Trevor Lawrence, who we're just bagging on, 45-1. No, thank you. Tua, 50-1. Drake May's 45-1. Drake May's not winning this award. I just think the numbers here are egregious. If I had to bet anything, like, could Caleb Williams, with all that talent around him, with Ben Johnson, could he win? Yeah, but I'd like 50-1. I'd like 60-1. I might bet it there just with all the talent around him. Do I want him at 28-1? I don't. So I know I didn't really give you a bet. I just whined. If you want a long shot, Giants 6-1.
All right.
Record, I think, is okay. Sorry for all the whining.
Don't you please whine. These numbers suck, and it's always the leaders in the market like DraftKings and FanDuel coming out, and they're pushing people like to, put those bad lines up behind them.
Sure.
These future lines have been awful lately. And
who do you like? What's your bet in this market? Anything?
Nothing yet. I think that I agree that Ben Johnson and Vrabel should be favorites, but 6-1
right.
For coach of the year, that's terrible. MVP, you're not getting any juicy 20-1s. Like you said, 3, 4, 5 years ago, Jaden Daniels would be 20-1. That was the Lamar price at like 3, 4, 5 years ago. And he was in the same position, looked great, first year and all that. And yeah, I agree. It sucks. And I'm going to wait on it and, see what happens. I guess if I had to pick a coach of the year, it would have to be Jim Harbaugh at like 16-1, 18-1. But, since he made the playoffs last year, give it to him, you'd have to have that literally, Ben Johnson and Vrabel missed the playoffs, not even get the wild card. So that would be tough.
What about we go back to Gammon at 20-1? I liked it last year. It didn't get home. Could that team win 10, 11 games?
Yes.
Media seems to like him.
Yes.
That's a franchise that doesn't have a lot of success. The division's wide open. If I just told you right now, the Arizona Cardinals won the division, which you can get at 4-1, boy, that 20-1's not going to be there for Gammon. That he's at least a finalist, I would think. If you just told me right now, if I told you, hey, Arizona wins the division, Gannon's probably at least a finalist, if not the winner, coach of the year.
Correct. And I think that the problem is how exposed you want to be, because you're betting the Cardinals over their win total. You're betting them to make the playoffs. You're betting them at win the division. That's 3 bets right there. And then you go ahead and put the fat coach of the year out there. But, the thing that could happen is they do make the playoffs and they get in with the wild card behind the Rams or the 49ers. And then a team like the Patriots or somebody also gets the wild card, but they're going to get the East Coast vote, right? I'm wondering if that could happen, Will. And
possible.
That's the worry. But don't get me wrong. From a value perspective, I do see the value on him. I agree. I think if there is one to take, maybe you sprinkle a little bit of beer money if you want.
Canales at 18-1 is not awful either, just because I do think, if Young's legit, the narrative is going to be, well, he fixed Bryce Young. Bryce Young was awful. Then Canales came around and his franchise was dead. They were an embarrassment. Everyone killed the pick. The voters, people don't like the fact that the voters control this, but you can read the minds of the voters and they buy the narratives, the stories. If you can sort of anticipate what stories, what narratives are going to emerge, you can do a lot better job of picking who's going to win these awards. I could see the Canales, Bryce Young narrative. If that team, again, I don't think they have to win 13 games and go crazy. You win 10, 11 games, you make the playoffs, you win a bad division. To me, Canales is going to be right in that spot. And again, we talked about Carolina. They're 4-1 to win the division. I think if you're going to bet them to win the division, or if you're high on them, you maybe put half it on the 4-1, but maybe you put half of your bet on the 18-1 and you go for the fat payout. Because again, if that's a division winner, Canales is going to be right in the thick of the conversation.
Why not Canales? I agree. And you're also attacking a weak division. Good stuff. What about Super Bowl? Real quick, early thoughts. Who wins the Super Bowl?
It's a great question. You go first.
The Bills. Easiest road.
They always road to the ones.
Yeah, they win it every single year. But it's almost like the Jaguars, right? Maybe, but at least they're making playoffs. I will say that schedule is so easy for a first place schedule, ranking in the top echelon. It's weird to see that, and that just because of that, they should get the 1 seed and then get that playoff game at home against somebody. And at least if that gets you to the Super Bowl at the 6-1, 7-1 that you're getting on the Bills, at least you're in good shape there. But I think the Ravens is also the other one that you got to think about. I wish the Ravens was in the NFC. That would make it a lot easier on my thoughts on them winning the Super Bowl if the Ravens weren't there.
Speaking of whining about how these bad these numbers are, the Chicago Bears, the illustrious Chicago Bears, your Chicago Bears, 35-1 to win this. I mean, come on, what are we doing? 35-1 to win the Super Bowl.
Awful.
This is the Bears. Like, what are we doing? It's just not fair. I'll go with the Ravens. They've been close a lot. DVOA darlings. They lost a tough one. Andrews dropped 1 million balls, and then they got upset in Kansas City. They fumbled on the one, and a bunch of things happened. Who was it? The rookie Flowers, who got that stupid penalty a couple years. I mean, things have gone wrong for them. Maybe the ball bounces their way. I'll go Ravens. I wouldn't bet it at 7-1, but if you made me pick, I'd pick the Ravens.
Another wonderful pick, and one that's the biggest competition for the Bills. But Will, even though you just tore your shoulder up, you're the best. Where could our listeners get your great information and media?
Yeah, should have bet more podcasts. Monday, Wednesday, Fridays. VSiN primetime 7-11 Eastern. That's Thursdays and Fridays. Live bet Saturday and Sunday 4 to 7 Eastern. Gold Boys Discord. I'm on. I'm on VSiN pretty regularly. Catch me throughout the week. So, and then once in a while on here with you whenever I'm lucky enough to get the call, to get the invite. So always fun. Appreciate you having me.
Awesome. One of our favorite guests. Like I said, make sure you guys check out Will Hill. Will be texting throughout the summer, my man. We'll talk soon.
All right, man. Appreciate you having me. Thanks again.